Hi, everybody. Welcome to the recording here for the Autodesk website here for trainings. My name is Josh Matheny, and I will be your trainer today. Just wanted to go through here and kind of talk about AutoSpecs. So I'm a manager of customer success here at Autodesk. I have worked with the Pype software for about 2.5 years before our acquisition, and I'll be walking you through the AutoSpecs tool today. So what we'll be covering today in the tool is a couple of different modules. We're going to do a project startup phase. We'll talk about how to create a project, upload specs, general modules of the tool. We'll talk about more advanced features of how to, edit your submittal log, be able to go through the tool and have general usage of it, use the comparison tool inside of AutoSpecs as well. Last but not least is how to get your tool out, or how to get your data out of AutoSpecs and into your project management tool of choice, right? So last but not least here is kind of what is AutoSpecs at the highest level, right? So AutoSpecs at the highest level is a contract compliance tool. It is designed to give a project team the ability to upload a set of specs to the tool for the tool to then be able to extract and identify key pieces of information inside of that tool to give a project team the ultimate the best ability to maintain contract compliance and mitigate risk when it comes to submittals, right? Everyone knows that submittals are a big part of the the design process of a job, going through and making sure you've captured everything that you need. And there's three main pieces of the software here that are represented by these three images right here that really kind of go in and help discuss what we're going to talk about today. So first and foremost, obviously AutoSpecs, this is designed to capture the information in the spec book quickly, easily, and accurately. Right. Secondly, here is going to be the concept of AutoSpecs is designed to give a project team dashboards and data visualization pieces that allow a project team to really understand their submittals, understand their job, get from a holistic, high-level, top-down view of what's going on inside your project, so you can make better decisions to maintain contract compliance and to ultimately go through and take that data and move it into whatever project management tool you're deciding to use this data with. And last but not least is a core concept of AutoSpecs is the idea of using AutoSpecs as a staging environment, right? So what I mean by that is the idea that you can upload data into AutoSpecs and to have discussions around your submittals, and have discussions around what's going on inside your project. Maybe you need submittals here. Maybe you don't need those submittals. Maybe you need to make copies of those submittals, and anything really in between. And you can do this all inside a safe environment to review the data, review kind of what submittals are there, to have conversations around it, to then ultimately have the best possible shot at maintaining contract compliance, getting your log flushed out, having discussions around that log, and then ultimately being able to export all that data into your project management tool of choice, whether it's Plan Grid, BIM 360, Autodesk Build, Procore, or any other tool in the market that you're going to be using for the software. Okay, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the actual software here. Right, so first and foremost, let me make sure I'm sharing my screen here to the correct screen. Perfect. Awesome. All right. So there we go. So what we're going to start out with is obviously the project creation process. So first off, everyone will want to log into autospecs.pype.io. That is kind of the authentication point right there. Once you simply log in here, you'll be able to then log in with your username and password that you set up. Right? If you forgot your password, obviously you can log in there, or you can technically log in with your BIM 360 credentials. Once you're inside the platform, you could see a lot of projects. You could see only a few projects, depending on kind of your permission levels inside the platform. But today we're going to go through the basic generic steps of how to use AutoSpecs and how to get the most out of it, right? So today we're going to go ahead and start with creating a project. So creating a project is very straightforward, very simple. It only requires a little bit of project information to get that started. So we'll go ahead and click Add Project right here in this upper left-hand corner. And we're going to start out by just adding some normal generic project information. So project name, whatever system we want to go through and do with that, a project number, whatever that may be. So we'll go ahead and put in a project number that makes sense to us, right? Whatever nomenclature this is alphanumeric, so it's totally fine, whatever you need to put in there. And then a version name, right? So the version name is directly related to the version of specifications you're currently going to upload inside your job, right? So if you're in a very early set of specifications, maybe you're going to want to go ahead and do like a 20% DD set, right? Maybe you're in a mid-construction phase, you're going to do maybe a 50% construction set or CD set. And if you're all the way at the end, maybe you're going to do 100% CD or potentially an IFC set. Any way works. You can start wherever you want to inside of the process of AutoSpecs, right? But you just need to organize yourself so you know what set of specs is uploaded to the program, right? So today we'll go ahead and start with a 50% CD set, for example here. And we're going to go ahead and update our project completion date. So let's just go ahead and put it for June of this year. A project type, if you see it in the drop down here, fantastic. If you don't see it, that's okay. You can scroll down to the bottom and click other, and then a value range for your project. So let's just go ahead and put this one at 40 to 50 million. We'll go ahead and click next. And next, we'll go ahead and default to our project location. This is basically where is your project located, either in the US or Canada or elsewhere. We're going to do US for today, so we'll click next. And next, we'll do a physical address location. So we just go ahead and fill out some generic information here. Something along these lines, just to kind of autofill with some data here, right? Obviously, this will just be your actual location address for your job. We'll choose a state. Today will be in Colorado. Right? And we'll go through and fill that out with our project information. And once we click the create button here, your project will be created for you. You'll be able to actually see in the background here, which I don't have it up and running, but let me just go ahead and do that. So you'll see their project right here for us, right? So at this point, your project's been created. You can come back to it later if you want to, but for today, we'll go ahead and continue on. So next in the process here is going to be actually uploading your spec book for processing. All right, this process is very easy. You can simply drag and drop files here if you want to, or you can browse from your computer and upload them there. So I actually have one here. I'm going to go ahead and upload it right here. And we have our spec book, right? Now, one thing you'll notice here is that there's a bunch of different ways you can upload specs, right? But first off, let's talk about the requirements for uploading a spec book inside of AutoSpecs, right? There's only two. The first one is that a spec book must be in PDF format in order for the system to accept it. Right. And secondly, is it must be in CSI or master format, right? Obviously, we know there's a lot of different formats of master format. You can upload 5-digit or 6-digit CSI format. Either way works. There still are some 5-digit CSI jobs floating around out there. We do accept US or Canadian CSI format. As you saw on the previous screen, you can choose where your location is. AutoSpecs has separate algorithms for either Canadian or US formats, right? So those are the two minimum requirements you have to have in order for AutoSpecs to be able to work on your job. If you have a non-CSI spec book, there could be a potential we can help you out, but for the most part, CSI is what we really work with, right? Now, with regards to the way spec books are released, obviously we know architects release spec books in a bunch of different formats and ways. This particular one I have here is one singular PDF that's been uploaded. That's totally fine. Let's say your architect has released in volumes. So you have volume 1, volume 2, and volume 3. That's fine as well. Upload all 3 volumes here, right? And last but not least is going to be by spec section. If you have 200 individual spec section PDFs, that's fine as well. You're going to want to go ahead and upload all of your 300 or 200 PDFs here. AutoSpecs is totally fine with that. It can accept all 3 of those different ways as long as it's all part of the same version, right? So as long as we're uploading the same version, we're good to go. So this is my correct set. This is my version. I know the version names are different here, but that's okay. I know that this is the correct one that I want to upload. All right, so we'll just go ahead and click upload here. It's given me the green checkbox, which means that this file is okay to go. We'll go ahead and click validate, which basically is AutoSpecs is now checking to make sure it meets the basic requirements, which once again it's a PDF and it's in CSI format. And then from there, we'll go ahead and click generate submittals. Right. Now, this process here is automatic. I always like to say you can go get a cup of coffee, come back, and your specs will be done. Right. I've seen, for general run times, I've seen a 1,000-page spec book run in about a minute. I've seen a 5,000 page spec book running around 5 to 6 minutes. So you can kind of extrapolate that from there. So this should normally only take a minute or two here to kind of get through and done. But in interest of time, we're going to go ahead and X out of this job. And we're going to go ahead and go to another job that I have here that I've already uploaded for us, which is our Manchester Art Center job that we have. All right. So once my job has been completed, you'll see a couple things here on the front of the project card, as it were. You'll see some of the data we've inputted, so who was created by, the completion date on the job, the specifications that have been uploaded, and ultimately the actual specification status as these have been generated. All right. For future, if you want to go back and update any of the project information that you've updated inside this job, you can simply click the three dots here and go to Edit Project, and you'll go back to the same menu where you were, where you inserted all that information. Right. You can go back and through there. And lastly, if you want to change any of your specification information, your version information, you can actually upload versions here, as well as edit your versions, rename versions, delete versions, whatever you like to do as well. Okay. So let's just pretend here that our job has been finished, and we'll click into Manchester Arts Center. And this is the screen that you'll be presented with when you finish your specification upload, and AutoSpecs has identified all your information inside your job for you, right? So this is AutoSpecs at its core. Now you've now gone through the setup process of setting up your job and uploading your specifications, right? So at this point, the system's set up and you're ready to start beginning your work, okay? So from here, let's talk about a couple things here. First and foremost is going to be the modules over here on the left-hand side, and which ones we have access to and which ones we don't. So for today's demonstration, we'll be covering projects, dashboard, Smart Register, products, and Smart View. Okay. Everything else underneath here is just for me, so don't worry about those. You will not see those in your project for the most part. So we're going to cover the top 5 here, because the top 5 are the ones that you're definitely going to have access to. Each one of these modules has its own special use cases and special kind of tools inside of it. And we'll cover each one of them today on how you can best use them inside the tool, right? But first and foremost, the first place we get dropped into is our Smart Register. Our Smart Register is where we're going to be building our submittal log right out of to maintain that contract compliance, right? The two things, once again, we're going to tie everything back to today are contract compliance and risk mitigation. That's all what the name of the game of AutoSpecs is about, right? So obviously, as you can see, Smart Register is designed to look very much like Excel and perform very much like Excel. You can go through and you can click inside of things and edit information points here inside of the cells. But before we get too much more into Smart Register, right, we're going to actually go back into our dashboard. This is the place I would suggest any new project team go to that hasn't used AutoSpecs before, as well as any net new project you've uploaded into the system, even if you've used AutoSpecs before, right? Now, the reason for that is once we click on the dashboard here, you'll see it is designed to be a jumping off point, a single point of information to give us a 10,000 foot view, high level view of what's going on inside your spec book, right? It's designed to be one of the data visualization points that gives you the conversation starters, to gives you the high level understanding of what's going on inside your job, right? So you can see here we have your action informational and closeout requirements broken out into their submittal types here in front of you for perusal, right? You can also see here we capture additional requirements. One of the key market differentiators for AutoSpecs is the amount of data we capture. We give you a ton of information, Division 1 requirements, mockups, QA, QC, tests, and inspection, right? QA, anything along those lines are all going to be here inside your Smart Register for you to be able to look at, not look at, filter in, filter out, depending on what you need and what you want to look at any given time. We'll talk about that here in just a second. But first, really, obviously this is meant to be a jumping off point. So for example, if you're looking at action informational, you can see we have 6 delegated design requirements, right? I'm going to want to make sure I understand exactly where those are, what those are inclusive of, what trades those are in, right? So I can actually click on this right here, and it'll shoot me over in my Smart Register, filter down to just the delegated design requirements. And now I can see exactly what spec sections or what trades that they're in, okay? So meant to be a high level to a low level view very quickly and easy with the dashboard, right? One final thing here that you can do, right, is actually this requirements by division spec is a very handy view here to kind of give you yet again another discussion point. Is if you click on the gray bar like here or any of the divisions, right, you can actually click on this here and it will shoot you over to this view. All right, so we'll collapse Division 1 because Division 1 doesn't actually have any true submittals inside of it. And we'll take a look at Division 6 here, right? So you can see it aggregates all of our submittals up here with, the total number in Division 6 is 33, one mockup. But you see architectural woodwork here has 12 submittals, one mockup, 2 closeouts, and a test and inspection. I can actually click on the name right here, and it's going to bring me to architectural woodwork to take a deeper view. And if I want to go even deeper, I can click on view in smart register, and it'll do the same thing it did before, which will pop me over to my smart register and filter down by just this spec section's worth of information, right? So once again, the dashboard here is meant to be a jumping off point. It's meant to be a conversation starter. It's meant to kind of start getting people used to a project, to start, making decisions about what data they want to use, what data they deem important, and to kind of go from there with your decision-making processes about your submittal log and kind of what you're going to include, what you're going to change, anything along those lines, right? So next here is we'll go back into our smart register and we'll cover some of the basic key concepts of the smart register and kind of how you're going to go through and manipulate this information that AutoSpecs has identified to ultimately create your submittal log and then have it inside of here to start manipulating with, right? So first things first, if there is one thing that I want you guys to leave today with, and one thing I want to make sure that everyone understands exactly how important is the concept of filters and filtering up here at the top. Okay, here's all your filters available and inside of AutoSpecs. And if I remove all the filters up here at the top, you can see the entire ecosphere of data that AutoSpecs has captured is actually 2,046 submittals. Right. So overall, if I'm a brand new project team and I only know AutoSpecs is designed to help me, create a submittal log, and I log into AutoSpecs and I see 2,000 requirements or submittals, I'm going to start freaking out. I'm going to say, hey, that's too much data, way too much to go, right? I thought AutoSpecs was supposed to help me with my submittal log. Well, it is, and it will. Right, but you got to use the filters up at the top to filter out some of the information that doesn't necessarily always go into submittal logs. Right, so you can do that by filtering by division, by spec section, by submittal type, and last but not least, but most importantly, is submittal group. All right, now submittal group, these options here should look familiar. They're the same submittal groups on our dashboard that we filter things out by, right? So for example, if I really want to start focusing in on my submittal log, I want to start tailoring and looking kind of what I'm looking at here, I'm going to go to action informational and mockups. Some project teams may consider a closeout. Some project teams might not. Some project teams may include test and inspection. Some of them won't. Some do QA/QC. Some do everything. To each their own, right? But the key groups here are going to be action informational and mockups. So I'll go ahead and click apply filters here, and you'll see 2,046 turns to 969 down here in the bottom right-hand corner, right? So I just removed, 1,100 items that are still important to my job, but they're not probably going to go into my submittal log, right? So from here, I can start going through and start manipulating some of this information here to go through and start checking it out, right? So from here, once I've got my filters done, and let's say that I really enjoy these filters, these are the filters I want to run with, right? Or I wanted to save these filters, I can actually click Save Filter right here, give it a name for myself, click Save Filter, and it will apply here inside your Save Filters dropdown. Okay, these filters will follow you project to project, meaning if I create a filter, they'll go to my projects I'm on because the filters are on a user by user basis. So if I create a filter, but my buddy, my PE on the job, John wants to use my filters, that he will have to create his own filters to make sure that he can go through and do that, right? Cool. So filters are super important. They're going to dictate what data you see and what data you don't see. They'll go through there and do that. But yeah, we'll take a look at that later on as well, right? So filters will have impacts not only here, they'll also have impacts on your smart view, and they'll also have impacts here when you export your data out. We'll discuss all those things here in time as well, okay? So next here, now that we've covered filters, we'll cover the ability just to do really quick adds here inside of the product. So for example, here we'll click add. We can add a submittal here, right? You can go through there and kind of take a look at that information, go through and click through things. Oops, let me go back here to my normal filter, right? So going through and clicking on that, you can see we have our normal, just click add. It'll add a line item here. I can go through and, click through my sections here if I want to fill this out, right? I can also delete submittals. So if I click the checkbox over here on the left-hand side, I can delete a submittal. You'll see I'll strike a line through it and it'll change the color from yellow to pink. I can also do things like copy submittals, right? So for example, copying a submittal is really helpful here for something like as-built, right? So if I have, let me find an as-built here in concrete, for example, would be a great one, or shop drawings equally as great. So I know inside of my job that the architect has asked for shop drawings for my cast and plate concrete, but I know that I have 5 different floors. So I may need to provide 5 different shop drawings, depending on exactly how my building is or what the specifications are for that particular job. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to click the checkbox next to shop drawings. I'm going to click copy. I'm going to do single copy or multiple copies. I'm going to choose multiple. I'm going to click 4 copies because I got 5 floors and I got 1 already there, and click done. And you'll see here, boom, I now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different copies of the same requirement here. Now I can go into my submittal description and I can go into here and scroll up and say floor 1, right? And go through and make those edits to make sure I can go through and take care of that for floor 1. Right, so copying is a great handy little feature here to really flush out your submittal log and make it really, really as best as you possibly can. Once again, to make sure you maintain that contract compliance. Right. Also here in the actions bar, I've got things like merge and bulk update. So merge is a really handy tool. Merge here is great for closeout requirements specifically. So let me go ahead and change my filters here to include closeout requirements. See how important filters are, right? It's coming through here and finding some warranties that make sense. So here is a perfect example right here. These requirements, as you can see, right? So these 5 right here, if I actually open up the PDF here and actually click open PDF, can see here that inside of here, the architect actually just inserted the entire thing inside of the entire actually warranty inside of the actual document here, right? So the way CSI format works, as everyone knows, is that AutoSpecs is going to basically take this as 1, 2, 3, 4 individual warranties, right? That's not actually true. Okay, so I can do things like this where I can actually combine all of these things from 5 line items into 1 line item for me. So if I click actions and go to merge, click continue, I can choose which one I want to keep. I'm going to go ahead and keep the first one, click merge submittals, and you'll see now that these 4 have been deleted. And if I click inside of the submittal description here, this one, you can see all of the text has been inserted into one particular warranty now, because in reality, this is just one singular warranty, not 5, right? Last but not least is bulk update. Bulk update works exactly the way you think it does, right? If I come through here and I want to change, for example, the target date on all of these particular requirements to the same target date, I can simply click and drag, highlight the ones I want to update, click actions, bulk update, verify I've got the right records, click next, choose my target date field, choose for today's date, right, click confirm. I only click the fields I want to update, by the way. I don't need to fill out all this, just the only things I want to update, click confirm, and you'll see here, boom, all of these fields have now been updated to the same target date. So a lot of these features that we just covered here really quickly is all about being able to manipulate your data, make your submittal log more flushed out, make it more concise, make it more built together so you can move forward with the best possible chance and the most succinct submittal log that you can into your project management tool of choice. Okay. So next here, you'll see that all of these changes are temporary, meaning that they aren't chosen in the white color, and that's because the way AutoSpecs works is it doesn't save any changes to your submittal log until you click the save button. If I click the save button now, all of these changes become permanent. They become final. They turn white, as it were, in the background. But because of this temporary functionality, I can click the undo button and go back a step. Or I can do what I'm going to do right now is click reset all changes and go all the way back to my previous save, which basically doesn't have any of this stuff that I just did. And you can see it all right there for me in right in front of it, right? So any question, I guess, going through inside of that, would have the ability to go through and undo any net potential mess ups that they may need to revert. Right? Awesome. Okay. So we've covered the basic functionality here of the Submittal Smart Register, going through and really editing our log, applying filters, making sure we're all good to go. As a matter of fact, I'm going to reapply my filters right here that I want to have, and going through there. Right. There are two other things I want to talk about before we move over into our products tab. Is these search bars. Okay, there's two different search bars in all of our different modules here. This one is a local search, meaning that it only searches through the data you have present in front of you. So right now, I'm only going to keyword search through these 1,300 line items. This search, on the other hand, is kind of our holistic search, meaning it will search through every single available spec section that you have inside of your version. Right. So, for example, if I search, something like allowances here, right, and I go through and search it, it's only going to pull up things that have the word allowances on inside of this particular environment, right? But if I, click remove the exact match tool here, I can actually go through and have everything with the word allowance, allowances, allow, things along those lines will be, potentially included inside of this search. So you can see it's a really powerful tool. It allows you to create submittals on the fly as well. So for example, if I go into this one right here, and I click the three dots, I can actually view exactly where it is. You can see it has the word allow. So it's using the keyword search with the smart technology there to kind of go through and keyword search things that are close to the word allowances, right? I can click here and I can click add to submittals on the fly if it's something that I'd like to capture. Okay. Awesome. Alrighty. So we've covered the basic functionality of building on our submittal log here. Let's go through some of the more advanced features, right? So first off is our products tab. One of the key differentiators of the market of AutoSpecs is it captures and digitizes all of your part 2 product data for you as well. Right. So all of it's here. It's all here. And obviously with all of our product data, we can get a jump start on things like procurement. We can get a jump start on things like, material expedition logs, on any, foreign imports or any long lead time items that we may need to have. Is all right here for us at our fingertips. We can simply click here. We can click export the data and we can go through and get a jump start on that. Right. But we have built in kind of a workflow here that we think is really helpful for, once again, really flushing out our submittal logs, making them as comprehensive as we possibly can, right? To go through and incorporate this information into our smart register and ultimately into our submittal log to make it as good of a possible submittal process as we can, right? So if I go through here and I click smart register, and I'm going to go down to something like something in metal. So let's go to like decorative metal, right? That's a perfect example right here. So if I go to decorative metal, you can see right here, I have a part 1 general product data requirement listed right here with this blue link. And basically what the submittal description is saying is, submit manufacturer specifications and installation instructions to be provided, right? That's a normal part 1 general, part 1 product data requirement that we all see day in and day out, right? Now, what this blue link is telling us is that there is part 2 product data available for this spec section here for us to be able to use if we so choose. So what I can do is I can click this link here. It's going to shoot me over to our products data section. It's going to apply a filter for us automatically to just get decorative metal in front of me. So you can see it's only 33 records. And from here, I can pick and choose any of these I'd like to move from our products data section into smart register for us. So for example, based off of the part 1 general, products to be provided, alloys and tempers, stainless steel, brass, aluminum, fasteners, electrodes, anchors and inserts, adhesive, right? You guys can kind of get what I'm driving at there, right? So you're going to go through and make your choices about which potential products you'd like to go through and add in here, if any at all, right? Once you make those decisions about which ones you'd like to add, you'll click add to register right here. Once you do that, you're going to need to give it a submittal type, right? Obviously, product data doesn't have submittal types because they aren't considered really submittals. So you can go through here and most people choose product data. So you'll click the X's next to all the ones that you don't want to use. You'll click next. You'll verify you've got your right records here and you'll click create. Once you click create, you will see the green checkbox here. Green checkbox means that this is now a submittal inside of your Smart Register. Red X means that it's not. Now, what that means is when you guys log into your job, unless you do this electory process here of choosing which ones you'd like to do, you're going to see all red X's inside of this environment, which ultimately means none of this data inside of your products data section will be exported into your project management tool unless you choose which ones you want to move over into Smart Register. Okay, so if we go back to Smart Register now, we can actually see here, if I scroll back down to decorative metal, boom, 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 let's go back down to here, that we have, here's our part 1 general right here. And if I keep scrolling down, you should see your part 2 data. Where is it? They should be here as well. So you can see them in right here with your part 2s, right? Let me try to find these real quick. I think I have my filters incorrect. So here they are. Yep, there they are right there. So there's all of our part. Let's go back up and check it here. So we have our part 1 decorative metal right here. And then inside the same spec section, which is still, 057,000, here's all of our part 2s. Okay, so they came over. Now, one last thing you can do to really trim up your log if you want to is you can take all this data here that we just added from all of our part 2 and actually merge it into our part 1. So now we can go through, click Actions Merge, continue, keep the part 1, click Merge Submittals, and you can see now inside this submittal, I have not only my part 1 requirements, but all of my part 2s inside of here, so that when I submit these, for approval, everything is inside of one singular bucket, all right, to make it nice and tight, nice and easy to read for my architects, right? Totally up to you, totally electory process, okay? So let me go back and reset all my changes here. And awesome. Alrighty. So that is the product section here. Really nice to go through and review all your part 2 product data. Okay. So last module we get to cover today is Smart View. Now, Smart View is probably one of the most important modules here because, as you can see immediately, it has the added bonus of the actual PDF here from your job inside of the tool that's available for you to be able to review and go through and have access to the actual PDFs where AutoSpecs were able to identify the information from, right? So a little cool story about this is that actually the Smart View tool was not at release of AutoSpecs. It was actually a customer enhancement. They came back to us and said, hey, listen, we love the fact that, AutoSpecs captures and identifies all this information for us, but we need to be able to review it. We want our product teams to read our specifications, review the information that AutoSpecs captured, make sure that they have everything they need. Once again, ultimately going back to contract compliance and risk mitigation, make sure they have everything they want to have. It's done in the correct way, and they can go through and have access to that data, right? So hence came Smart View. How to use this section, right? Cool thing about this section is that every single feature we've covered thus far between Smart Register and products is going to be here for you to be able to use. Every single thing of information that we do, so any things that we add over here or delete over here on the right-hand side, merge, anything along those lines, any change done in Smart Register automatically updates the Smart View. Any change in Smart View automatically updates inside of Smart Register, right? So the two sections are connected with the data that they have inside of them, okay? So how do we go through and use this section? Right. First things on the left, our specifications are basically our project outline. Over here, we have all of our divisions. Inside each division is our spec sections. We'll go back to decorative metal here. We'll click on decorative metal. The PDF will change in the middle. Our submittals will change over here on the right-hand side. And we can go through and review spec section by spec section, go through and kind of do that on a spec section by spec section basis. Okay. Here in the middle will be our PDF. Obviously, we'll cover some other things here. And well, there's different PDF tools. You can download the spec section PDF. You can, print it. You can do full screen if you want to. A bunch of different options here. I'll let you guys play around with. And then on the right-hand side here is our is our actual submittal log for just this spec section, right? You can see here we have our filters applied. So we have action, informational, closeout, and mockups. I can change filters up here as well if I want to include other things or to remove things, right? Filters do apply once again from Smart Register or from here. They follow each other wherever we go, right? And I can go through here and view these particular data sets. Definitely a cool feature that it kind of pops back and forth, right? But first and foremost, if I want to start doing a review here, inside of the tool, I can actually simply click on a particular submittal, and it should highlight what we pulled and where AutoSpecs pulled it from. Okay. I can simply go through submittal by submittal and click each one of them that I want to, right? Or if I wanted to take it one step further and review all of them at once, I can actually click highlight all submittals up here at the top right here. And should highlight every single requirement we found inside the spec section. Okay. Keep in mind the highlighting tool is meant to be a guideline. It's not meant to be always exact. Just keep that in mind. If you see your submittal over here on the right-hand side, you're good to go. Any submittals that are added after the AutoSpecs identification process originally will not be highlighted. So once again, just keep in mind that if it's over here, you're safe. If it's not highlighted, double check yourself and you should be good to go. Okay. Another really cool feature here is our Smart Build tool, right? Smart Build is the quickest and easiest way to add things to our submittal log. So I can click Smart Build here. It's going to reload the PDF for me in the middle. I'm going to find the information I want to highlight. Let's just say here it is some system requirements. Maybe the design requirements here are really important for me to take care of, or maybe the structural requirements are something I really want to track. I'll simply highlight the text over top of what I want to capture. It's going to simply extract all that information, extract the paragraph number, the subsection heading, the submittal type, right, of it, assign it to a submittal group inside of our system, as well as extract all that text. I'm going to click add here, and it's going to automatically add it as a submittal for me, right? So super quick and easy way to go through and add submittals on the fly, right, is Smart Build. Okay. Finishing up on our features here inside of Smart Build, or Smart View, excuse me, is going to be the ability to add submittals. You have actions here, merge, copy, everything we kind of talked about. You have your filters applied here. You have your local search bars here and here. You have your all search bar all the way up here at the top, of course, right? You also have all your Part 2 product data here. You can check it out right here. You can see all your Part 2 product data. You can simply click the add to register if you wanted to do that. Once again, you can copy, you can edit, you can do basically everything that you want to do. The only thing you cannot do is bulk update. That's the only feature we don't have here. If you want to bulk update anything, you go back to Smart Register and bulk update it there. That's really it with regards to that, right? The last thing I'll cover here inside of Smart View is a relatively new feature to the AutoSpecs program, and that is Pype AI. Right? Pype AI is an on-demand recommendation engine for your job, right? What it does is, I'll go ahead and click launch here and we'll get it started while I'm talking about it, is it is an on-demand recommendation engine that looks at your specifications, looks at the submittals and the spec sections you have inside of those specifications, looks at the submittals inside of them ultimately, and then compares your results against the results of the hundreds of thousands of other jobs that AutoSpecs has run, and gives you recommendations based off of industry best practices, as well as what the results of other projects it's found as, and says, hey, these might be some things you maybe want to take a look at, maybe adding your submittal log, or maybe having discussions around, maybe you want to, send these over to your architect to say like, hey, are you expecting us to submit this stuff as well, right? It's meant to, once again, going back ultimately to contract compliance and risk mitigation. It is the ultimate tool here to make sure that you're getting the best possible start at collecting everything you need for a job, right? So here, Pype AI has basically said, hey, we found these recommendations for these spec sections, right? Which, as you can see, there's quite a lot of them. You'll click show recommendations here, and you'll see that we have the Pype AI filter and the regular green filter here as well. Now you can see it says there's no options. That's because I have filters turned on, right? So if I click and I actually change my filters here, you'll see that we actually have recommendations for a warranty and for an as-built, right? So I can also just simply click the green box and all my real true submittals turn on, as in submittals that were called on the specifications. And I can turn them off, or I can turn off Pype AI recommendations, whatever I want to do here. Okay, so Pype AI recommendations are theoretical submittals. If you click them here, nothing will happen because they don't exist in the text, right? But if you want to add them as a submittal, you can simply click the green checkbox here. It will turn green, and then you'll see it right here. It is now green highlighted, just like the rest of the submittals, which means it's now present inside our submittal log, inside our smart register, and we're good to go. Whites will not. Okay. Now, obviously, with this tool, we think it's really powerful, but we also understand that you may not want to make decisions about adding these things to our submittal log without having conversations around them first, right? Taking them to the architect, taking them to an AOC meeting, taking them internally, right? So if you click Actions, download Pype AI recommendations right here, it will download an Excel file here for you that gives you all the available trades, all the actual submittal types that are recommendations, and you can then have conversations around these particular additions or omissions, however you wanted to define it, for your project before you make the decisions to actually create submittals out of them. Okay, so Pype AI is a newish tool. We've had it for a little under a year now, and it's really, really giving project teams even more coverage on making sure they capture everything that they need. Okay, awesome. So we'll go back to Smart Register now, and we'll finish up here with a couple of cool features, and then we'll be able to talk about, last but not least, is exporting. Right. So first here in the actions bar, we've already covered merge and bulk update. Let's cover history next. History is going to be, really a who did what, when, and where inside this log. You'll see here that, I went through and added some submittals. I deleted some submittals, right? I exported to plan grid, right? I did a bunch of different things inside of this log, and you can see it goes over time as well to track all the changes across it, no matter who did what, when, and where inside this job, right? Reset submittal number is just something that when you go through and you make all your updates to your log, you're going to have staggered numbers, as in 252 has been deleted. So it's going to say 251 and 253. There'll be a gap. You can reset that submittal number to make it uniform across your log, right? Definitely nice to have feature there. But in the downloads tab here, we have project specs and spec section PDF, right? Project Specs is going to download the spec book that we uploaded to create this job in the first place. Pretty straightforward there. But Spec Section PDFs, on the other hand, is going to have a really nice feature here. I'm going to download it. It's going to download a zip folder for me. And inside the zip folder is going to have every single Spec Section PDF broken out for me automatically. So no more having to go into Bluebeam and divvy these Spec Section PDFs up all together. If I click one of these here, you'll see it is simply just a Spec Section PDF from start to finish, already done for me automatically. Super handy, super helpful way to go there. Let me get back to my page here. 1 second. Okay, just 1 second here for me. Awesome. So, and we're back. Cool. So that's the actions, download, spec section PDFs here. Right. So next is the share icon, right? So the share icon is actually in two different spaces. It's actually here on the Smart Register menu, as well as on the front of the projects menu right here. So it's going to be this little button right here on the front of the projects menu to share. And really all share does is it allows you to share your project team with share your project with other members of your project team, right? It's free to you guys to use. You can share it with as many people as you want to. All you need to do is just click share. Type in the email address of the user you want to share it with. They'll get an invite to the system and go from there with it. You can share it with as many people as you want to. The only thing you need to keep in mind is once they have access to the job, there's no granular permissions from there. If Dan Tashiro, my colleague, has access to the job, he can do everything that I can do. Same with Shelby. She can do everything that I can do inside this job. Okay, so just keep that in mind when you're sharing your project with your colleagues. All right. Last but not least here, before we get into the export piece, is we're going to talk about the ability to upload multiple versions of specifications, right? And how you do that is you can upload and create a new version, or obviously you can add addendums as well to update your existing versions of specs, all right? So first things first, let's talk about creating a new version. So let's say, as we uploaded earlier in the video, we have a 60% set of specs. I now have 100% set of specs or an IFC set I want to upload. I'll simply come to upload. I'll click create new version. I will give it a version name, right? Whatever it is, 100 CD, right? I'll click continue and I will go through the same specification upload process I did earlier on in my job, which is simply just going to go through and take that spec book. It's going to update it. It's going to process it and then present me with a smart register just like you see here. Okay. So let's go ahead and pretend like we've already done that and we're good to go, right? But what we can do now is I can actually see here inside this job, if I click up here in this little icon right here, I can see I have 100% set and a version and a 60% set and a version as well. These are two separate instances of AutoSpecs. If I click 60% here, it's going to reload all the data here for me for just the 60% set. You can see I only have 374 submittals down here in the right-hand corner. And if I go back to the 100% set here, you'll see we're back to 2000, right? So different data sets, different spec books inside the same job, but just inside separate versions, okay? So now that I have multiple versions inside my job by using the create version tool, right, I can actually use the comparison tool to compare to see the differences between my 60% and my 100% by using the compare versions tool, okay? So I click compare versions here and it's going to give me a breakout here in aggregate of what the differences are between my two versions. So you can see the 60% here and the 100% here. You can see right here that I'm at 135 action informational submittals versus 948, 31 to 355, and so on and so forth. Right? And they're broken out by submittal groups. These submittal groups should look familiar. They're the same groups as our filters inside of our smart register and the same groups that we have inside of our dashboard, all coming together, all following each other. All right? So let's say, for example, here, I really want to understand more in depth about what changes have been in my action informationals tab, right? I can click show differences right here, and it's going to go into a submittal by submittal comparison tool, right? What that means is that I can go through and actually, I can see exactly what changes have been made from my 60 to my 100% and compare and contrast to see what the differences are along here. Right. So there's some really cool filters up here at the top that help me peruse this a little easier rather than scrolling through 948 lines here, right, of scrolling down and so on and so forth, right? Added, for example, super helpful filter. I now know that there's 926 net new submittals that didn't exist inside of my 60% set. Deleted. Now I know that there's 113 submittals that have been deleted from my 60% to my 100%. They're just not there. They're not in my 100% set. And my question is why? Is this expected, unexpected? Is this natural design change? Is this potential omissions by my project team? Or maybe my project team didn't upload the correct specs. Maybe my architect forgot to give us a spec section or two. Who knows? Now you can dive in to double check that, right? Last but not least is modifieds, okay? Modifieds are submittals that exist in both instances of the tool here, right? But you can see there are changes, both instances of spec books, but have changes across them. So you can see it's the same spec section, the same paragraph code, different submittal type, different submittal description, right? So they took this certificate and updated it to a lead certification for this particular job, right? Another really good example is the certificate right here. Same spec section, same paragraph code, same submittal type, wildly different certificate requirements, right? So this type of change is definitely something that I want to make sure you're aware of on your project so you can go through and once again, back to it again, maintain contract compliance and mitigate risk, right? Make sure you're on top of all the changes you need to be on top of, okay? Awesome, alrighty. So last but not least here, before we get to the upload here, is going to be the addendum tool, right? So we'll go to upload, add addendum. I'm on my 100% set. Let's pretend here that I have a new addendum that's come through and the architect has given me some changes across the board. I need to upload to make sure I'm always using my most up-to-date set of specifications inside my tool to build the best submittal log I can, right? So I click add addendum here. I'm going to give an addendum name. Addendum 1, for example, click continue. I will upload from my computer my addendum, which I've got right here. Now, I know inside this addendum I have updates to Division 23 because I've opened the PDF, but we'll talk about that here in a second of how we do this. So we'll click upload, validate, and generate submittals, just like we did before. Same process, uploading submittals. Submittals generated successfully. We'll click next. And now we go into the decision-making tool. All right. So over here on the left-hand side are all my spec sections inside my addendum. All the spec sections inside my existing version are over here on the right. So I know, like I said earlier, division 23 is where my updates are. I just need to scroll down to division 23. And boom, here's my spec section. All right. Now, you can see AutoSpecs is already trying to tell me pretty much what to do with this spec section. So you can see it's highlighted pink right here. That means this is a net new spec section. You can also see the gap here as well. I just need to click append replace. It's going to take this spec section here, create a new spec section folder for me, and paste the data inside of it, inside of this new section here for me. Now, if this was highlighted yellow, meaning it's an existing spec section, there would not be a gap here. And I would click replace. It's going to take the new data and the new PDF here and paste it over top of the old existing data here. Okay, so pink is append, yellow is replace. All right, and AutoSpec should be able to tell you exactly what's going on there between what actions you should take. Okay, awesome. Alrighty. So we've covered all the functionalities here. The last thing we'll cover here is in the reports tab. Really, really helpful tool here to kind of go through is actually the submittal schedule. We'll cover this really quickly here. The submittal schedule is a great little tool that helps you get information out of AutoSpecs in a format that's really helpful that doesn't necessarily need to encompass an entire submittal log, right? So hypothetical time, let's say a trade partner has asked us for just their submittal requirements. And they want it in a PDF, or maybe you want to give it to them in a PDF, or maybe you want to give it into an Excel file, whatever works, right? So you can be like, okay, fantastic. I'll go ahead and send that over to you. All right. So you'll come to here, you go to Smart Register, you'll go to Reports, and you'll go to Submittal Schedule. All right. So from here, what you'll do is you'll first off find the data you want to have. What data do you want to give them? Okay. So first off, you got to filter that data down, get your data set right. So you can filter by division, spec section, submittal type, right? Submittal group, whatever you want to do. Okay. So from here, I'm going to actually just include these couple. I'm going to include everything but division 1. Click apply filters. Now we've got that data filtered down. Okay. Now that I have my data set, let's pretend that this particular trade partner is only responsible for division 4. Now, of course, obviously, I understand they'd probably not be responsible for every single spec section inside division 4, but let's just pretend here. Let's make it easy on ourselves, right? So I'm going to go ahead and click division 4. And now we've got only 45 records down here in the bottom right-hand corner. So we know that we've got our data set trimmed down to make sense to us, right? From here, now we can start organizing our columns. Right. I don't want to group off submittal group. I want to group off spec section. So I'm going to drag spec section over here to the left. Boom. We've reorganized our data. This is our organizing column. Okay. Now from here, there's some data here that I don't need to pull over. Right. Submittal group. I don't need that. I can actually remove it. Okay. Division. I don't need that either. It's all division 4. I can remove division. Okay. Submittal number. I don't need that either. That doesn't make sense to me. I don't even know what that is. That's just the Pype submittal number, by the way. But my trade partner doesn't need to know that. So I can remove that as well. Okay. So now that I've got all my data trimmed down, this looks much cleaner, by the way. I can actually make some other really cool decisions. So if this is what you want, you can simply click download PDF or Excel, but I like to click this group rows icon right here because it removes all these duplicates for me, maintenance and masonry, lead data, qualification. It trims it all down. So you can see it cascades the data from left to right. So you've basically got a much cleaner kind of organizational methodology here with regards to what you want. So you can either A, download to Excel, B, download a PDF. I'm going to choose PDF here, but I'm also going to make sure to include the full submittal description. Some people like it truncated, some people don't. I'm going to include full submittal description. I'm going to click download PDF. So the PDF file will be here. I'll open it up and you'll see it's got a cover page. It's got a hyperlinked index table of contents. So I have Stone Masonry site where right here I can click on this and it'll go straight to there, or I can go back to home. It's got a requirement summary page, which basically is just a graph here of kind of what's going on inside the data set that I have. I've got 45 total with 25 action informationals, right? And I can scroll down here and you can see a very clean, very easy to read submittal log broken out by spec section by spec section. Okay, should be very simple, very straightforward, very easy to use. All right, once again, how you get there is Smart Register, Reports, Submittal Schedule. All right, last but not least, we are all done with all the functionalities inside of AutoSpecs we're going to cover today. Last but not least is we've made all of our decisions. We've gone through and verified. We've captured everything. We're good to go with contract compliance. We've gone through and made all the edits, all the changes we want to make, and now ultimately we're going to move this over into our project management tool of choice, right? All you need to do is simply click export here, choose your system of choice, right? For today, we're actually going to do BIM 360. So we'll go ahead and click on our BIM 360 project management tool, and we'll start the process. Now, we're going to cover PlanGrid here in a second as well. This is an API integration. It means that we are able to connect, or we have connected to BIM 360 directly through an API. So we're able, in a couple of clicks of a button here, to go through and send the data to BIM 360. A lot of our other systems are Excel-based. We're going to cover that here in a second, of how you get your data into Excel and import it into other systems as well. So first, we'll do BIM 360. So we'll simply click select send BIM 360 submittals. We'll log into there. I've already logged into BIM 360 today, so it's not asking me to log in again. I'm just going to click allow right here. It's going to allow me to select a partner company. I'm going to select Pype. I'm going to select my project name. I'm going to click next. Next here, it's going to go through and ask me to filter my data, right? Make sure I have my filters applied. So I'm going to click Submittal Group, go to Action Informational and Mockups, click Apply Filters. That's my filters that I want. If I click nothing else here, I'm going to export all 977 records. But if I want to, I can go completely granular and only select the records I want. Okay. You can keep in mind, you can export as many times as you need to. You don't have to send everything at once. You can send only Division 2 and then only Division 3 and only Division 4. You can export as many times as you want to. Inside of the tool, it's totally up to you. So for this example, I'm going to send over these 3 submittals from Cast in Place Concrete, just to keep it simple, right? From here, I'll select my records. I'll select Verify. I will verify that these are the only ones I want to send over. Click Show BIM 360 Preview. I will then come through to here and wait for it to generate the BIM 360 preview. Basically, it's transferring the data over to make it into a BIM 360 acceptable format. This will just take a second. There we go. And from here, I will click Export Now, right? So once I click Export Now, it's going to send the data over to BIM 360. It's going to shoot me over into that environment, and we'll be done. I can now click View in BIM 360 to see it's done. Congratulations, right? Click View in BIM 360. Log me into BIM 360, log me into the project management tool, log me into the submittals tool, and here are the 3 I just sent over. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, went from AutoSpecs to BIM 360 in just a couple clicks of a button, right? Now, next, let's talk about an Excel export, right? Something that requires a manual export to import process, right? So from here, I'll simply do the same steps. I'll go to Export. I'll find the one I want, which a lot of our tools are, Excel-based as well. I'll click PlanGrid. Same steps, filter my data. Action Informational Mockups, for example, click Apply. I'm going to do the same 3 submittals again here for just these 3 and click Download. That's simple, guys, right? We'll click Open. We'll drag this Excel file over here. You'll see right here, we've already pre-formatted an Excel file here for PlanGrid that should work for upload. We have a lot of pre-built templates for the majority of very large, project management tools in the market. If you don't have something, reach out to our support team. We're happy to have any questions to kind of take care of this stuff. But long story short, you should be able to take this, push it directly into PlanGrid, and kind of start your approvals, start your submittal management, get your approvals, and start doing your packages from there. Okay. Awesome. Alrighty. Well, thanks for those of you who watched the whole video. I really, really appreciate your time. This is kind of the end of the conclusion of the video on Pype AutoSpecs. If you have any questions, I would strongly recommend to reach out to our support team here as well as to your Autodesk representatives. We do have support chat here on our website on all of our different sites by clicking the orange button and being able to reach out to one of our support team members. They will definitely help you with any Pype questions or AutoSpecs questions that you may have, as well as reaching out to your Autodesk representative, whether it be in sales, customer success, whomever it may be. Once again, thank you for your time. Hopefully, we'll be in touch soon. And thanks for staying with us today. Thanks, guys.